Okay, so what we have here is the watercolor that we're going to be doing that will make this area here look kind of like a wild and brightly colored sea. You're going to start with taking your paper that is actually wide enough to create 2 watercolors, and we're going to start with the first side, which is what I just showed you, that rolling sea. And you're going to tape off your 3 edges, mask off so you have a nice clean border. And then for your top edge, you want more of an organic line, which is like that. So I just took some contact paper, and you can see I cut a line right here, and I'm going to use that to mask that edge so that it's not just like a straight line right across the top. Okay. I guess I should have had that done before I started, sorry. And I'm going to line that up where I want it to be, overlapping my border here. And I'm going to make sure it's squished down really well so no water leaks. And then to get this beautiful color, I'm going to use watercolor. I'm going to take and wet the colors I'm going to use. Just put a little drop of water in the ones that I think that I might be using for this. And I want to get this to be as bright as possible. So I'm going to bring over some of my color over here to the mixing side. Oops, got a little bit of red in there. I'll suck that out real quick. Pull out some yellow. Get that cleaned out. And then once I feel like I have enough colors over here to work with, then I'm ready to move on. Okay, so for the actual painting, I'm going to get the paper wet where I want the color to go, and then I'm going to just kind of drop in some color. And for this project, you're actually working quickly enough, and I want to rotate kind of back and forth between colors because I don't want it just to be like one smooth, even color. I want there to be transitions between colors. I want them to overlap. I want interesting things to be happening. And so you can see I'm just kind of dabbing in color where I want it to be. If you want it to blend a little more, you can use your brush and just kind of tap from one color to the next. But the tape and the contact paper will, or should at least, maybe I won't say will, should contain the color in the space that you want it to be in. Okay? And you can kind of get that front edge wet and moving. Again, with a lot of watercolors, you want to have a little more control than we're showing here. This is a way, if you have an area that you want to be bright and you've already taken the time to mask it off, then you can have more freedom to move very quickly across your painting. You can see how as I drop the colors in, they're doing some interesting things, interacting with each other. And just because I want this to look like water or an ocean does not mean it has to be blue. I want mine to be more like a sunset type of an ocean. But if you want to do everyone a favor and make it look more oceany, you also can add some blue to the mix. Get a little bit of that over there. Again, moving much quicker in this watercolor than you would perhaps in other watercolors. You also want to make sure you get a lot of good color on there. And it's okay if it's puddling up. You're just going to want to make sure your puddles are staying where you want them to be. If you get too much on the tape, you can use your paper towel and take some of that off. But you want your color to be really rich. And in this one, when we're going to get most all of our color from just one application of paint, you really want to get a lot of wet paint on there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this area with my blues. And I'm going to just go ahead and try and make them interact a little bit. Maybe add a little bit of magenta to kind of brighten things up and help with that transition from the warm colors to the blues. You know, I'm gonna maybe move around a little bit. I have a little bit too much water on this side, so I'm gonna just suck a little bit of that water off. But you can see how much of the brightness goes away when you suck out some of the water. So I'm going to make sure and add more paint but less water on my brush to those areas where I just kind of took some of the color out. And you can see I'm not paying too much attention or worrying too much about brush strokes. I'm trying to get some of these colors kind of interacting with each other. I want it to be a very interesting, multicolored sort of space on my page. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more of this dark over here. And then you can see I have nice bright things. I like how it's transitioning from one kind of bright color area to another. I'm going to drop just a little bit more of that in here. Have it go across. And then when it's wet but not like puddly, that's the point when you can put a little bit of salt on your painting. So I'm going to add a little bit more here because I lost some of my brightness. A little bit more of that. Okay. And then I'm going to suck out a little bit of that excess again. Then I'm going to take my salt, just put a little bit, and just in a few areas I'm going to add some salt crystals. And that'll just add a little bit of interesting texture to my final piece. Maybe I'll do a little more over here. I don't want to do it on the entire thing, but I want to do it enough so it doesn't look like it's just in one area by mistake. And that's going to do some of this where it kind of is whiter in areas around the bright areas. So that is how I watercolored my rolling sea.